You know, if you're in sales, marketing, or recruiting, you've probably felt this. That one profile rule on LinkedIn, it can be a major bottleneck. You've got to scale your outreach, you need to segment your brand, but trying to do that feels like you're walking a tightrope. So how do you actually play the game of multiple accounts and win?
All right, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with the why, the real dilemma that professionals are facing. Then we'll take a look inside LinkedIn's digital fortress to see what we're up against. After that, we'll break down 3 different ways to manage multiple accounts, cover the unwritten rules for staying safe, and then wrap it all up by helping you build your own strategy. Let's get into it.
So let's be super clear right from the start. This isn't about being shady or trying to pull a fast one. It's really about strategic growth. For so many professionals who actually depend on LinkedIn to build their pipeline, having more than one account is, frankly, a business necessity.
And really, it all boils down to this one question. Are you hitting a wall with LinkedIn's outreach limits? Or maybe you need to present different versions of your professional self to different audiences. If you're nodding your head and thinking yes, well, you are in exactly the right place.
And look, this is a daily reality for a few key groups. We're talking about recruiters who are trying to build specialized profiles to gain trust in, say, both the tech and healthcare spaces. We're talking about sales teams that need to get around those weekly connection limits. Of course, marketing agencies are juggling client accounts all the time, and consultants often need separate profiles for their different services.
Okay, now for the main event, the fortress. LinkedIn is an absolute master at sniffing out multiple accounts. So if you want to get around their walls, you first have to understand exactly how they're built. See, unlike more casual social networks, LinkedIn's entire world is built on professional identity and trust. And that just means the stakes are way higher and their monitoring is far more sophisticated and way more strict. Trust me, they are actively looking for any behavior that breaks their one-person, one-account policy.
So how do they catch you? Well, first up is something called browser fingerprinting. Think about it. Your computer has this unique digital signature based on your operating system, your browser, the fonts you have installed, and so much more. If LinkedIn sees multiple accounts logging in from the exact same fingerprint, you better believe their alarms start going off.
The second tool they use is IP monitoring. Your IP address is basically your device's physical location on the internet. So if LinkedIn sees a bunch of different accounts logging in and out from the same IP address in a really short amount of time, well, it's kind of like a bouncer at a club seeing the same person walk out and come right back in wearing a different hat. They know something's up.
And what happens when you do get caught? Well, LinkedIn rarely just drops the ban hammer right away. It's more like a slow squeeze. First, they quietly drop your visibility in search results. Then, you'll get hit with a temporary restriction. And the final nail in the coffin? A full account lockout where they demand a government ID just to prove you're a real person.
Okay, so knowing the risks, what are the actual strategies that professionals are using to manage all this? Let's break down 3 distinct methods, and we'll weigh the trade-offs between safety, cost, and what you can really accomplish with each one.
All right, the first and by far the safest method is just using official company pages. This is 100% within LinkedIn's rules. You can have multiple team members as admins, all managing things from their own personal profiles. But, and this is a big but, the organic reach is tiny compared to a personal profile. And most importantly, you can't send connection requests or direct messages. So it's great for branding, but pretty much useless for outreach.
Method 2 is to just pay up for LinkedIn's premium tool, Sales Navigator. And don't get me wrong, it's fantastic for sales teams. It gives you advanced search filters and way higher messaging limits. But while it's an official product, it doesn't solve our core problem. Each seat is still tied to one specific profile, and it does absolutely nothing to hide the fact that you might be operating multiple profiles from the same computer. And that brings us to our third method, browser isolation. Now, this is the really interesting one because it's designed to directly counter LinkedIn's detection tools. It works by creating a totally unique browser fingerprint for each profile, making them all look like they're on separate computers. Then it assigns a dedicated proxy or IP address to each one. So, to LinkedIn's algorithm, these accounts have absolutely no connection to each other at all. Now, regardless of which method you even consider, there's a set of universal best practices that applies to everyone. Seriously, think of this as the safety manual for operating on LinkedIn at scale, because violating these rules is the absolute fastest way to get your accounts restricted.
I want you to remember this number, 100.
That is the magic number. It's the unofficial weekly limit for connection requests. And while it's not some super strict rule, consistently pushing past it is the single fastest way to get your account flagged by LinkedIn.
To stay safe, you really just need to act human. You have to warm up any new account slowly. Don't go from 0 to 50 requests overnight. You need to personalize every single connection note, and whatever you do, never use those Chrome extensions that automate things like connecting or messaging. LinkedIn can spot those a mile away, and they will permanently restrict your account for it.
And here's exactly why that personalization is non-negotiable. Sending those generic connection requests, they have abysmal acceptance rates. And here's the thing, LinkedIn actively monitors your rejection ratio. If too many people ignore or reject your request, their algorithm flags you as a potential spammer. And that, my friends, is a direct path to getting restricted.
Okay, let's pull all of this together. Now that we understand the need, the risks, and the methods, we can finally make an informed decision about which strategy is actually right for your specific goals.
So, let's just map out this decision. If all you need is a simple brand presence, company pages are your safest bet. Zero risk, zero cost. For serious sales teams that need better leads, Sales Navigator is a powerful official tool, but it's pricey. But if you're here for pure scale, we're talking massive outreach or agency management, then browser isolation is the real answer, as long as you follow all those safety rules we just covered to manage its medium risk level.
So, it all comes down to this. Is scaling your outreach really worth navigating LinkedIn's gray areas? You know, for ambitious teams, the answer is a clear yes. The secret isn't to cheat the system, but to understand it. You have to treat LinkedIn not as a social network, but as an operating system. Learn its rules, especially the unwritten ones, and you can turn its limitations into your competitive advantage.